You're listening to the One Step Deeper podcast with your host, Jimmy Moore and Brittany Davis. OneStepDeeperPodcast.com.
So what's up?
Oh, nothing much. What's up with you?
Besides your frazzled life.
It's every day. Like I've just gotten to a point where I've just accepted that this is just the truth of my life. This is a season that I'm going through, and we're just going to be cool with it.
Well, look, you're a mom of three who you homeschool. You're basically the maid in your house. Let's just put it that way. You are the loving wife to your wild man. You're a burgeoning entrepreneur with a successful podcast, with an upcoming book, which we're still in the little bit of like final phases of. And then you've got another business idea that you want to do with the apparel line that we were talking about, a conference you want to do. I can't imagine why your plate would be so full, Brittany.
It's crazy that, like, when I think about all those things in my mind, they don't seem big, and then you speak them out loud. I'm like, oh, wow, I guess that is a lot of things to do.
No wonder I get in a mental death spiral from time to time.
Absolutely. It makes total sense when you say it like that.
Yes. So, guys, here today in episode 51, we're going to give you a how to get out of that mental death spiral because, quite frankly, you and I both have lots of experience of being in our own heads. We're going to talk about why we get there, how we get there, what's the root cause of why that happens, and then how you can pull yourself out of that. OneStepDeeperPodcast.com is the website. Go check us out over there. You can see all the past episodes and listen to the past episodes there as well. We do debut this in video form on Sundays at 4 p.m. Eastern Time over on YouTube. Just type in a keyword search, One Step Deeper. You will find the show there. It's usually up a couple days before in snippet form as well, the little tidbits. You can get that either on YouTube or pop over to Instagram at both my page, the One Step Deeper page, and on Brittany's Instagram page. We try to put it everywhere. The tidbits, about 15 minutes of this show, gives you a nice little like taste of what we talked about. We hope you go and watch or listen to the whole episode. But that's over there. So she's becoming Brittany Lee. And in her bio, you'll notice it says author of the One Step Deeper Journal of the Foundations. So that's fun. And you changed it to Brittany Lee Davis because we're branding your name Brittany Lee Davis on the book. So that'll be fun.
Yeah.
And then I'm Living Low Carb Man over on Instagram. And we're also putting them up on Facebook as well. So look up One Step Deeper over there. Then on Mondays, it is a traditional podcast. Go check us out. Apple, Stitcher, Spotify, Alexa. You can find it in all the usual suspect places. And then leave us a review. If you like what you see here, what you hear here, I say. Yes, give us a review. That show is just so silly. They're so serious with the topics, but then they act so silly, especially that Jimmy guy. Oh, my God. What's his problem? I'm not projecting at all. But thank you. I appreciate you so much for being here. But, yes, this death spiral, you watched me go through it quite a bit during the last couple of years. It's been 6-7 months since I've been out of it. Primarily the thing that I went through, but there were moments that I'm just, especially when everybody went quiet on me and I couldn't get a hold of you because you were with Wild Man. I'll mess with you with your Wild Man, and I have other friends. That's why I had to keep expanding my friend list because I needed somebody to talk to. But you get in your own head, and a lot of it is back to the narratives episode we did a couple of weeks ago. We create these narratives. Oh, they must not love me anymore. Oh, they've abandoned me. And, a lot of it's born out of what we talk about here a lot. Trauma, the experiences of your past. They're going to guide you going down this death spiral in your mind.
Yeah. And like you said, early on, you and I both have had so much experience in this area. I've had experience going through it alone, and when I get there, whereas you reach out for help to pull you out. I prefer to pull myself out, and neither way is wrong. It's just what we prefer. But you've had experience helping me out, and I've had experience helping you out, and so we have a lot of experience in this area. No, neither one of us are like clinically trained, or have any letters behind our name, but like we have real life experience, and I have like all these tips and tricks that I have come up with through trial and error for years of going through this.
Well, and it's perfect that you and I are doing this show today because we both have very different reaction to the death spiral. Jimmy wants to talk to everybody. Brittany wants to talk to nobody. So it's like we are definitely the perfect yin yang of this topic here today, because whoever you are watching this right now, listening to this right now on the podcast, whoever you are, if you're the kind that likes to go hide, or you're the kind that likes to talk to everybody and call everybody on your friends list, and you're still in the death spiral, like, you're going to need today. So I'm really glad that we offer that juxtaposition of the extremes, I guess. Although we've both gotten better at our respective. I don't have to run to so many people to talk to as I used to.
Yeah.
I've worked on this, and you don't hide nearly as much as you used to. You're more willing to talk sooner. But the talking isn't so much to get a lot of help. It's just more of, all right, somebody cares about me. Let me talk to them, let them know I'm okay, and then go get okay.
Yeah, and it's taken a lot of practice and trial and error for both of us to be at that point. It's been a long process to get to where we are today when things happen. Because, let's be honest, life demands at times that we have these crazy thoughts. And, I say demands because, look around you. It's so easy. It's so quick. Just one tiny little event or thought or something that's happening can easily put you right here. And like life just... it happens sometimes, and so I don't fault myself, but it's learning in those moments when it's inevitable that we go through these mental things and these mental struggles to learn how to get yourself out of it.
Well, and sometimes the struggles aren't even real; they're contrived in our mind. That when I look back in hindsight, I just go, "Why, Jimmy? Why?" Yeah. Why? It's like you have enough stuff to deal with that's real. You don't need to contrive things. And sometimes it's just little bitty things that are said, that are heard, that are communicated, that are whatever, that trigger something in you. And then go right into the spiral. And sometimes harkening back to that episode about emotions, where anger is not an emotion, it's a reaction. Sometimes that death spiral sends you into an angry fit of rage, and you don't do well, and you lash out, and it's where you have to kind of identify, and this is part of getting yourself out of the death spiral. What am I really feeling? It's not anger. Anger is just the response to what the emotion is. What are the emotions? Is it frustration? Is it something else? It can be anything.
Yeah. So, I wrote a list of little things, and none of these are particularly in order, they're just random, but like, that's one of the things I wrote down, that as soon as you get there and you realize it, like, begin to peel back the layers of your thoughts. Where did these thoughts come from? This was there an event that happened? Is this pulling things from your past? Is there some trigger event? Where did they come from? And why are they here now? Why are they sticking with you? Are you extra tired? Hello, are you reacting because it brought up something from your past? Are you more reactive because you're hungry? Listen, it's a real thing, guys. Okay, when you're not taking care of yourself. Yes, when you're hangry, are you reactive because you're hangry? Are you going into that mental spiral because you're not taking care of yourself? And then what you said, are they true? Are the thoughts that you're thinking that are leading you further and further down these spirals, are they true? Are they real? Are they a narrative you're telling yourself? The last couple of weeks have really just kind of built on each other, but that's what we do here. And just remember that quote, last week or week before last, I was talking about Dr. Joe Dispenza and the quote that he had said, that your thoughts become your feelings and your feelings become your thoughts. And so to remember that if you don't capture that thought at the beginning of the spiral, they become how you feel, because the more you think on it, the more you ruminate on it, the more it becomes what you feel. And so then it's just downward spiral.
And one thing we've talked about quite a bit with a lot of what we do here on the podcast and definitely in our book is when things are going awry, like the mental death spiral, ground yourself on something. And one thing that you've been very good at, and I want to compliment you on this, is when you get into this kind of state, when I've gotten in this state, she's like, I know I need to ground myself in gratitude, being grateful for things that are good. And that brings you back into reality if it's something that you should not be spiraling just because your mind's doing that. And so that's a huge game changer, guys. If you don't have a list of like things you're grateful for that you keep an active list on, I know there's gratitude journals out there that can help you work through kind of figuring out what those things you are grateful for, that you should write those down and have, kind of a regular list so that when you get in this mindset and you start looking at, I've got 3 beautiful, very healthy girls. I got a sexy husband that loves me to death, and more than 10 years we've been married. I've got the best house in South Kakalaki there is. I'm living my dream life. I'm writing a book. I get to do a podcast and a book with my best friend. Like you got a lot of things that you're grateful for, and those are just things that I'm thinking of. There's lots more. You've got lots of things you're grateful for, I know. And you could say the same thing about me. I have all my needs met. I have paid off home. I have no bills, like no mortgage, and I've been very successful, and I'm known online. Like there's things that I can be grateful for and hold on to those things. And so in the moment, you don't feel the things you're grateful for because your brain has been hijacked by these thoughts that send you down that mental death spiral. And that will pull you out, guys, kind of shaking you back into reality of, hey, you don't have it as bad off as you think.
Yeah. And let me say something. Gratitude is prevention here. Okay. So don't get into a mental spiral and then that's the only time you ever think about what you're grateful for. You have to do this on a daily balance on a daily basis. On a daily basis, you have to practice gratitude. And like, I was just talking to my mom about this last night of, she was kind of complaining about something. And I told her, I was like, take a different route. Let's look at it in a different view. And I was like, listen, I hope people do this to me too. If I'm complaining about something, Jimmy's definitely called me out. He's like, hey, let's take this other way. And I love it when people push back on me. And so I kind of did that with my mom. I was like, I have to look for things that I'm grateful for because it is so easy to get caught up in media and what people say in my atmosphere and get caught up in that and find some. It's easy to find something to complain about. It is. But also, if we put our mindset there, it's easy to find something that I'm grateful for. And so if I live in that state of gratitude every single day and I ground myself there every single day, it's a prevention of the mental spiral. It doesn't mean it'll never happen. It's just a preventative measure. And then once you're in that spiral, it's easier for your brain to remember instead of create gratitude there. It's easier to remember the things that you're grateful for on a daily basis.
Well, and when you ground yourself in gratitude daily, it's almost hard for your mind to fall into a mental death spiral. Like, think about those moments when you start having those mental issues. You mentioned a few earlier. Exhaustion from being tired, from only getting 4 to 5 hours of sleep a night from somebody I know. Overwhelmed by things that are happening in life, so much happening so fast. So many duties at home that just stay behind no matter how much you work on. No matter how much laundry gets done, it's still lots of laundry. Am I hitting close to home? Those kinds of things will weigh on you. And it's like, if you ground yourself in that gratitude, even in the midst of those things, it kind of keeps you balanced. It kind of keeps you steady. And like, that's what we're trying to do in everything we talk about here is how can we help you stay in that homeostasis? Because if you don't, you're just gonna inevitably do that. And if you're left to your own devices, that's what it will do.
Oh yeah, for sure. And I picture the spiral and like where it starts, the event or the thought or the thing. And like the very next thing you run into, if you're not a person who's practiced feeling your feelings, immediately in spiral, you run into suppressed emotions. That's when you begin to feel angry, because anger is a reaction. You might begin to feel angry, or, maybe you're like me and you have to pull away. Like, I begin to feel those suppressed emotions, and I'm the feels person. So I try to feel my feelings in the moment. But sometimes, things from my past get pulled up when an event happens, or somebody says something that, I not even offended, like that hurts my feelings, and I think about that, and I begin to go down the spiral. And so then those suppressed emotions and thoughts, those come up. And then after that, what do? We shame and guilt ourselves. Oh, I should be doing this. I shouldn't be doing this. I should be cleaning, or I should be working, or I should be doing this. And
you need to stop shooting yourself.
Right, exactly. I feel like that was an episode. But like, and then you guilt yourself for, well, I shouldn't feel like this. Like you said earlier, like, come on, Jimmy, what are you doing? We guilt ourselves, and all that does is just push the spiral more, and then we get into avoidance. We get into, well, I can't think about those things because it's too much. But what we don't realize is, we think by avoiding it, we're pulling yourself up, but all you're doing is pushing the spiral further when you begin to avoid the things that you're feeling. And at that point, then you get physical symptoms. When you begin to avoid and bury, your body will tell you, you spiraling, girl, okay? And you begin to feel even more exhausted no matter what you do. Like, no matter how much you sleep, no matter how much you lay around, you're just physically exhausted. Your body will fight back. Maybe it's holding on to weight, or maybe anxiety. You have huge bouts of anxiety. This is mental spiral.
And look, it does impact your sleep, because if your mind is racing, I don't know about you, but when my mind is racing, very hard to sleep, very hard to calm things down. Now, I do a lot of things to help with my sleep, between supplementation of magnesium and keeping a cool room and taking an ice bath. I do a dark room, do lots of things to help in my sleep. And I get really good, efficient sleep, even in short amount of time. But if I'm mentally exhausted, mentally challenged, because I'm in that death spiral, I can't sleep. And it shows up physically in your body. And it's like, before it gets to the physical, by the time it gets to the physical, you're way gone mentally.
Yeah.
Hard to pull yourself back. And it's too bad some people wait till the physiological response where their body says, all right, bruh, you're not going to deal with your shit in your head. We're going to deal with it for you. Lay down. Now, you're not going to sleep, but lay down. And like, that's one of my strategies, by the way. When I'm so overwhelmed in my mind and I'm spiraling, one of the things I do, Brittany, and you know this about me, I go lay down.
Lay down.
And you've called me many a times when you're like, what you doing? I'm like, laying down. And you're like, oh, one of those days, huh? And we talk and everything. But yeah. And it's an effective strategy if you're able to.
Yeah.
The problem is, a lot of people suck it up like you, because you've got family duties. You try to lay down, but then a munchkin comes and says, Mommy, I'm hungry. And so that wakes you up, and and not everybody has that luxury. But if you can, try to like chill, try to deep breathe, try to do anything to kind of get your mind in a better place. And sometimes the mind just needs rest.
Oh yeah, I mean, let's be honest. I did it yesterday. I woke up extremely emotional. We had a big windstorm come through and rip up some things in our backyard, and I was just like, really, like, come on. And I was just frustrated there, and I woke up not feeling my best, and I haven't been sleeping well. I had slept amazing for a week, and then I was like, yay! And then I shouldn't have celebrated so early, because then my sleep went way back down. And so I yesterday was but I caught it. I didn't spiral. I was just like, and I even communicated to Jimmy, I'm emotional. I'm clearly emotional. I know why I'm emotional. I know why I'm emotional. I've thought through the thoughts. I'm not, perpetuating some narrative. I just need to lay down. I just need to lay down. And when I lay down, what I have to be careful of, and maybe you're the same way, when I lay down, like you say, you can't really sleep. It's not really like you're sleeping, but you're trying to rest your physical body that is having physical symptoms from the spiral. Like yesterday, I was laying there, and what happens? Guilt guilt and shame, more guilt and shame of why are you laying down? Like you need to get up and do the thing.
I don't get as guilty as you do, because I know you get hella guilty to lay down. You've got like a family thing. You allergic to something? I see you.
I don't know. My nose is just
Nose is going crazy.
Someone's talking about.
So, and Mo, for me, it's like, Jimmy, you've got things to do in the business. You've got the book to write on. You've got your podcast that you've got a reel to make. All these things go in my head, and so I do the same thing. I don't know if I guilt myself, other than I just kind of go, well, dang, I need to be working on those. And so the pull to want to get out of bed when I know I need to be laying down. I usually stay laid down, and then at some point. And deep breathing while I'm laying down too, really kind of relaxing the body.
Yeah.
There's just nothing better than using your breath and using other things. Like I know you've had some trouble sleeping, and I recommended you start doing some of the cold showers, and you've been doing that.
Yeah.
Doesn't that calm you down?
Yeah. I actually have a list of like find things that work for you. And one of them that I wrote down is not only am I doing the cold shower, but I've been doing warm bath into cold shower, like the shock, and then cold shower directly into bed. Wild Man's been laughing at me every night because I'll put the girls to bed and I'm like, all right, I'm gonna take my shower, and he's like, he seriously judges me over my cold showers. He is, he's the scalding hot walk out as a lobster shower, and I just
well, that's the thing. It's not, you're not bathing yourself with the cold shower. Yeah, because people and Wild Man probably thinks Jimmy's a wild man going into 32, 33 degree ice baths. And so I know. I see him on, not him, but I see other people online making those comments, but I sleep good. Hey, the results are in the numbers. I just posted my sleep. I slept 6 hours, just over 6 hours last night, with a nap. Of course, today I added a nap, but 6 hours total. And 4 hours of it, over 4 hours, like 4 hours, 15 minutes, was REM and deep. And it's like, I'll take that. Like, and it restores my brain. So I don't, this is the other thing. When you wake up tired and you're already kind of groggy because you were yesterday, because you were upset about the windstorm and there were things at the book that we were working on, and just a lot on your brain. And I was like, so I was being real careful with you because I knew you were kind of in a bit of the spiral, and I was trying to, like, you don't like it when I tiptoe on eggshells around you, but I was trying to be kind to your feelings. And I think I accomplished that. I was trying so hard. Because when you're in that, I don't want to be another thing to make you spiral some more. A lot of people ask me, Jimmy, how do you get such good deep sleep? Well, there's a lot of things that I do, but one of the newest things that I recently added is this upgraded magnesium from a company called Upgraded Formulas. Go to their website, upgradedformulas.com, and you can learn all about this nano technology that they use for this particular mineral of magnesium. Again, it's called Upgraded Magnesium, and it's got all the different forms of magnesium in it, using the nanotechnology so it gets absorbed a lot better. Guys, I have seen my deep sleep improve by as much as 30 to 40% simply by adding in this product along with sunshine exposure, darkness in the room, cooler temperature, all of the things that I always have done. So again, upgradedformulas.com is the website. Go check them out.
And I kept like articulating that yesterday, and I even said, I was like, this is growth for me, that I am able to talk at all when I was in that state. Like, that's a big deal for me to recognize. And like I said, this again is on my list of like pulling back the layers of knowing why you are there, what event led to it. And I know why I was emotional yesterday. I was extremely exhausted. I didn't sleep at all. I had children climbing in and out of the bed, the windstorm. There's so many factors that was going into it.
You got up late after you were in bed. You got up out of bed, had to go take something to someone, and so your night was disrupted.
Yeah, I forgot about that. Yeah, yes, exactly. I'd already gotten in. Yes, it is just, and so even though it was multiple things, you could group them together. That was the event, and so that event just sparked all of my suppressed emotions. And, I'll even be like extremely vulnerable with you guys. I have this narrative that plays in my head anytime I get like that of I have to give up my dream in order to accomplish all of these things. This is the number one thing that my brain goes to. Well, looky here. You're trying to make this life work for you. You're trying to do all these things, and you're just wasting your time because you can't be an entrepreneur. You're a mom and a wife, and you have to tend to all these people. And that's the very first thing where my brain goes. And so those suppressed emotions and that narrative explodes to the surface. It makes me so overly emotional. I don't even want to say overly emotional. I'm just super emotional. I just don't like putting overly on it, like overreact or.
Yesterday, you were very emotional. Over does seem like you shouldn't. If you, overly kind of has a don't do that. No, you just more emotion than you typically do. And look, I understood the reasons why. By the way, I want to see and I want to tell people about the good side of being in this lower mental state. Because something happened to you yesterday. You don't have to talk about the specifics of it, but because you were in that kind of down state, it enabled you to see something and appreciate something that happened later in the day. I mean, feel free to talk about however you want to talk about it, but I feel like this is such an important thing that it's not all bad when you get in spiral down, because it's while you're down that you start to look up and go, whoa, like I didn't realize this would happen. So feel free to share whatever you're comfortable with.
Yeah, I will. Well, to train yourself though, like that takes training yourself that when you get into the spiral, maybe just stay within the top of the spiral. Don't go too far down. Just in the top, which is where I was like, all right, we're just going to stay up here. Okay. I'm not going to stop this. I'm not going to force positive, which is definitely on the list. Do not force yourself to be positive in the spiral. It's ridiculous. You're wasting your time. I was like, we're just gonna camp out up here and swim in this area, and a couple hours in to me actually laying down and trying not to guilt myself for laying down and just like, I'm so tired, I can't do anything. I got a phone call from a person who means the absolute world to me, and she was like, hey, my car is having problems. I'm at the shop. Can you come pick me up and take me home? She lives about an hour, 45 minutes from my house. And I just start laughing because I was like, this is why today. And I can't explain it. Cosmic universe, whatever. Label it whatever you will. I don't care. But I needed to be in that state to be receptive to what she told me. And so the whole drive there, talking with her, just opened me up to that and opened me up to listen to what she had to tell me. And like, I began to come out of it even then. And I get home, and I hope this is what you were talking about.
Yeah.
Okay. And then I get home.
This and the other thing, but keep going.
Yeah. And then I get home, and I haven't spoken to my mom in several weeks, not for any other reason, just like we just haven't spoken. And my mom calls me out of nowhere, and I was like, that's weird. Okay, we'll go with it. We'll see. Okay, maybe this is what today was about. And my mom had like a really vulnerable, open conversation, something that her and I don't do very well. This is vulnerability between me and my mom doesn't happen very often. It was just a really cool experience.
Because of her unwillingness, not your unwillingness. You're the vulnerable girl, so.
Right. And so, we've struggled with that, but like to listen to some things that she had said, and I was like, whoa, cool. But, yesterday, I didn't guilt myself for feeling down yesterday. And if anything, because I didn't shame myself and guilt myself for where I was yesterday, I'm so much better today.
And now, it's kind of messed up to think about it this way, but now you're glad you had that low mental state, so that when the next mental state comes on that you're starting to go down, you may be able to have a hedge, because you'll be like, well, dang, the last time I got to talk to my really good friend in the car and really helped me, and then my mom called and all this. So you're going to have this memory now in your mind that spiral mentally turned into something good. Now, unfortunately, they don't always turn into something good, but when you make yourself available, when you stay kind of in the neutral side of the spiral and less in the very bad, overwhelmed side, you can learn lessons in the midst of that. And so, yeah, I thought yesterday was prime. And you called me back to kind of say, "Oh, I'm sorry, I was so emotional, but here's what happened, and oh my God," and I was just like,
Yeah.
there it is. That's why you went through it, and it wasn't great. It doesn't feel great. It feels just the same whether you're learning a lesson good or going down the death spiral negatively. It's the same feeling. So you're not gonna know, well, Brittany had two great things happen to her, so when this happens to me, where's mine, Brit? Where's mine? And it's not always going to happen that way.
It's just something that you have to be open to, and that's something that I've learned, that every single day, even when things, and this is what I was talking to my mom about, honestly, it was like, you have to be open to good things happen. I think too many times we tell ourselves, and we live in those narratives that, oh, the world is just such a bad place. Just look around. It's so awful. Everything's bad, everything. And we get stuck there, and then we just believe it. And so I'm not gonna lie, when it comes to mental spiraling, I can't tell you how many years I told myself, I live there. This is just my normal. I'm just always emotional. But I was pushing that. I was pushing it. The more I said, let's go back to Joe Dispenza, when he was like, your thoughts become your feelings and your feelings become your thoughts. Yes. I was creating that. And so when you get into these mental spirals that are inevitable, because life happens, guys, to just make yourself open to seeing positive in those things.
This is why I think so much of the things we verbalize about ourselves plays such a huge role, good or bad, in how we think, and then how we think turning into those either happy moments and proud moments and all the things, or the things that send us down that death spiral mentally. And so if you're one of those people who say, well, I'm this, and it's something negative, I'm ugly, I'm fat, I'm unsuccessful, I'm useless, you're just basically telling yourself very consciously all these negative things. So your brain hears that. You almost have to think about your brain being a little child.
Yeah. Yes.
A little child. You can't go up to Alma Grace and say, you are, and I'm not going to say anything, it would be ugly, but think of like the ugliest things you could say to a 4-year-old. Now she'd probably be like, okay, and then walk away. But that aside, if she took it to heart, it would devastate her.
Yes.
And, gosh. Oh my! And you actually have another example. I'm not going to say what it is, but it was another example of one of your other children who had something said to her, and now he believes it because it's in her head now. And so our brains are like that little kid that if we don't speak good things to it, it's going to speak back to us with that death spiral with some physical symptoms.
So I love that you said this, and it sets up, what I was talking about with the suppressed emotions. So what you tell yourself on a daily basis, every single day, if you look in the mirror and you hate yourself, I'm not successful, life's out to get me, all this is, and it's like, those are your suppressed emotions. Those are things that you subconsciously believe about yourself because you spoke them over and over and over again. And so when you get into a spiral, this is where the shadow work comes in. When you get into that spiral, that the first thing you think of all of these suppressed emotions, what's there? What's in that box? What have you been lying to yourself about? What have you been telling yourself? What have you been talking to your 4-year-old? What have you been saying? Because that's what's going to come up right there. So that's where you do the work every single day. And I know it might sound a little woo-woo to people, but I'm so serious. Like, talk good to yourself. I think there's some study that happened. I feel like I've heard it somewhere, that they had a plant, and they spoke good things to the plant, and then they had another plant, they spoke bad things to the plant, and literally just speaking negative things to the plant, it didn't grow, as well as the positive things. And so if that can happen to a plant,
yes,
what does that create in us when we begin to speak positive things over ourselves?
Although my death metal loving co-host and best friend will be sad to hear that they played heavy metal music to plants and classical music to plants, and the classical ones did better.
I know, but just like just like this coffee is sitting here making me sleepy, okay? I just had the opposite reaction of normal people to these things. I can turn on death metal music and just be like, yeah,
See, death metal music would send me into a mental death spiral, whereas you're just like, oh, what a cheery day. So,
I guess it's because it was my escape when I was in the pain, as a kid. And so when I was a, emo teenager, I was just like, yeah, disturbed. Yeah.
meanwhile, I turn on the pop music and I'm good. But again, we are very opposite in a lot of ways.
Yes, but that's what makes us a dynamic duo here.
That's what we'll call it, sure. What else you got, sweetie?
Oh, goodness. I want to say, like, when you're in the spiral, something that I talk about often and I've brought up here on the podcast before, I've shared it on my Instagram page, I tell my friends, this is so important to me. When you're in the spiral, stop grabbing for numbing agents. Stop numbing what you're feeling, because all you're doing is, number one, you're speeding up the downward spiral. When you grab for things like alcohol because you think you're numbing, that goes into one of the things, avoidance. This is avoiding when you reach for numbing agents. It's not just alcohol. I mean, you could talk about food. People numb with food. People numb with work, and they push themselves because they're avoiding anything. And then their body, see, they don't realize that they are spiraling themselves with work until their body begins to speak.
Yeah.
And they're so far down the spiral, they can't get themselves back up because their body is now screaming at them. They've avoided it for so long. And so people too, here's another thing, I was thinking about this. People will numb their feelings by being around other people. And like, just keep themselves so busy, like go to this party or that event or this bar or this thing or this. And they keep their commitment so high that they don't have time to stop.
The socialite, I always worry about the socialite. Because you're needing that much human contact, which, don't get me wrong, I love human contact probably more than the average person. But when you've got a socialite and they always have to be kind of the center of the party, so to speak, you always wonder, is that covering up some pain? Is that covering up some emotion that they need to deal with? So it is funny you brought that up, because I've always wondered about people like that, okay, you can't just be this social flower all the time and be on all the time without that eventually catching up to you. And yes, she was talking about Jimmy when she talked about the workaholic thing, because that was me circa 2.5, 3 years ago. I was working my ass off, and I work hard. It's not like I don't work now, but I work more efficient hard than hard for hard's sake, hard to run away from the problems in my life. And the reason I went away on sabbatical was I was physically exhausted. Didn't realize it, mentally exhausted. I was so exhausted mentally and physically, I didn't know I was spiraling.
Yeah.
But I was. And I went away when all the work part of what I was doing went away. All that was left was the physical exhaustion and the mental exhaustion, and then the reality of what the real world was that I was suppressing with all that work.
Some people have lived in the spiral for so long. It is their normal, and they cannot see that they have been stuck in a spiral for this long. Like, they don't realize it, that so that's where you were. You didn't even realize where you were mentally or physically, because it's just your normal.
I bragged, wow, look how hard I work. Oh, I'm a really hard worker, and true.
Yes.
And I'm a hard worker, but I've learned how to be more strategic with it and taking the breaks and working on my mental state. And I've kind of found that balance. I still do 4 podcasts a week. I'm still writing books. I'm still doing all the Jimmy things, but not 7 podcasts a week, not every day going on video for this and this and this and this, and just literally running. I'm not running away from anything now. I'm running to things now. Big difference running away from a saber-toothed tiger than running towards, something that you want in your life. it's a different mental state. This is a very sympathetic state that's causing you such stress in your life, with that saber-toothed tiger chasing you to the point of you're just stressed and exhausted. Whereas I'm relaxed. I see a goal in front of me. I want it. I taste it. I'm so close, and I'm running towards it. Working hard in both scenarios, but one is a stressful, sympathetic state. The other one is a, all right, this is going to happen. We're going to make it happen. Parasympathetic state.
It's crazy that you would bring that up. You guys can probably see, you've probably seen it if you watch the podcast. I have a little picture here of a buffalo. If you've followed me on Instagram, you know my entire office is nothing but buffaloes. Buffaloes have a huge thing. They're special and dear to my heart because they are the only animal that when they're in nature and a storm comes, they don't run and hide from it. They don't cower behind the trees. They don't run away from it. The entire herd will gather together and turn around and face head forward and walk into the storm to get through the storm faster. And so it's beautiful. It's just beautiful to me. Like, I just get so emotional when I think about them.
Did you go keto and thought you had to give up wine? Well, let me introduce you to Dry Farm Wines. It is the world's first sugar-free alcohol that is lower than your typical wines, organic, made at local farms that do it the right way. Most of the wines that you buy are from 3 really big companies, loaded with additives and preservatives, so many dozens of those kinds of things. You don't want all that junk in your wine. So go to dryfarmwines.com/Jimmy and they will ship you these wines. And just because you listen to this podcast, Dry Farm Wines is going to give you a bottle in your first order for just 1 cent. Go to dryfarmwines.com/Jimmy and you will get your bottle of wine for just 1 singular penny. Go check them out. Dry Farm Wines, you guys. It's wine o'clock somewhere. Let's go get some wine. Most people don't think it through like that when you go right into the storm, the sooner you go into the storm, the sooner you're out of it. Whereas if you're running away from it and the storm is still moving, okay, yeah, you go through it, but it's going to be this slow-ass process that could have been over in a week, and then it takes a month, 2 months, never, and you're always in the storm.
Yeah, so I brought my little friend. My dad bought this for me for Christmas.
Yeah. Aww.
So cute. Yeah. He doesn't have a name yet, but
here we go. We're going to let the One Step Deeper podcast listeners help us have a name. Here's this. Those of you watching on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, if you're listening, go watch the video. There's this awesome picture of a bison, a little stuffed animal bison. We need a name for this little guy. I assume it's a guy.
Yes.
Our bison are okay. So help us. Do you have any inkling of what you want to call him?
No, see, I love to have little cutesy names and stuff, but I kind of ruminate over them for a while. So I do not have a preference.
And we're not going to call him bye bye lover, bye bye happy. No, we're not doing that.
And his name is also not Bill. Okay, not Bill.
And not Bill the bison.
Buffalo Bill. No.
Oh, no. I know. Mike the Bison Tyson.
Oh my gosh. Oh, next.
Hey, I bet he could punch like Mike Tyson. So.
Oh, yes, yeah. They are lethal. But so that's just one of the things, with bison that I love that they're the feels animal. They turn around and face what they're feeling. And so, I felt like it was very important to bring them up when you're thinking about the spirals, and you can see it in front of you to just stop going down further, just turn around and face the suppressed emotions, face the event.
Well, and it takes a lot of will to go right at the storm in the midst of when you're kind of spiraling mentally, because the last thing you want to do is to potentially make it worse, make it more intense. But I love the idea of going right at the storm, feeling it, being all up in it, so it's over with a lot quicker. and that's beautiful. As long as you don't shift when you're in the midst of going at the storm, don't suddenly turn around, because then you're gonna mess everything up. And I think when people stay in that downward spiral and they don't try to make an effort to go into the storm a little more, they stay down because they turned around. They didn't stay going at it, because it can get intense. Like, let's face it, there are life circumstances where it's tough, and when you're in that moment where, yeah, you want to get through it, you would literally do anything except for the one thing you need to do.
Yeah. Yeah. So, part of my story that I feel like is important to bring up, because that's the mental spiral thing. Like, it was my thing before Feel the Feels was my thing. I got Feel the Feels because I lived in this mental spiral for so long. When I was going through all the sexual trauma and the emotional trauma and the physical trauma when I was at this house, and I didn't face anything. I was just like, F that, I'm going over here. And I moved in with my dad. And so I never faced anything. I was still spiraling, but I was just avoidance. I was in the avoidance stage of spiraling at that point. And so I didn't even realize what was going on. And next thing I know, I've got trauma happening at my dad's house. And so now not only am I facing all the stuff at dad's house, I never faced any of that back there. And so now those suppressed emotions are just yes, exactly. And so digging the spiral even deeper. And again, I didn't face shit. I didn't face anything. I repeated the process. When I met Wildman, I was like, you know what? That looks like a good person to move in with. And so I moved in with Chris, and I didn't face. Now I've got two huge multiple life events, just like sitting on top of me in this spiral. And so that's why, like, my early 20s, I don't know how I had any friends. I really don't know how I had any friends, because I was a mental spiral walking. Like, that's what I was. And so it's so important for me to talk about this today.
But anybody that knows what you went through at that time would understand. Like, I had my angry moments in my 20s as well. And people just thought, wow, what a horrible human that person is, not knowing my trauma that I had been through. And we talk all about it, by the way, in our book, guys, in each of the 4 sections where the journal entries are. The journal entry is going to hit you, but you're going to get a taste of and it's just a taste. It's not the whole Moxie. We got a series of books we want to write about. We got to save some of them for the future books, but you're going to get enough of the stories of our trauma that you're going to go, whoa, no wonder Brittany was a walking time bomb in her early 20s. No wonder Jimmy was all throughout his 20s trying to pick up the pieces of his life, figuring out what the heck just happened in my teenage years. So it'll give you context for why we were the way we were and how we had to start working on ourselves, personally developing ourselves to grow to get to this point. And by no means are we arrived. We both still go in the mental death spiral. We, in the past month or two, both of us have gone down that mental death spiral once or twice or 10 times. So it's going to happen. You just have to just acknowledge that and don't beat yourself up about it. And don't have the guilt about it. Again, I love what happened to you as of the recording of it yesterday.
Yeah.
Because now that's going to serve your brain well the next time you go, okay, where's the mom thing this time? Where's my friend thing this time? I'm looking for it. And you will be looking for it, which that'll pull you out of it very quickly. Even if none of those things happen this time, your expectation would be different than, oh boy, well, I don't need to be an entrepreneur. Why am I doing that? And all those things that you expressed to me in your very tired, very exhausted, very mentally spirally state, you're not gonna that way the next time. So that's cool.
Yeah, this is also another one of those times where I like to become like the TikTok guy, quotational speaker. I love him so much. And I think we've even showed a clip of this particular TikTok before that he did, where his self is like freaking out and angry and upset. And then he just kind of steps outside of himself and he's like, what do you want? He's like, I'm just watching. I'm just observing. And it immediately calms them down. And so I almost do that with myself of like, oh, wow, girl, you are really upset right now. Why are we upset? You know, and it's almost like I have to talk to myself. It's like I parent my kids. I have to do that to myself.
The 4-year-old brain. All
Yeah.
of that. You
All
got
of
to talk
them.
to your brain like a little kid.
Yeah.
Coddle a little bit in that
Yeah.
moment.
Yeah.
It's so powerful when you think of like talking like you would a kid. You wouldn't go at a kid the way you go at yourself when you're in a mental death spiral. We say some of the most heinous, ugly things about and to ourselves in the midst of these really tough times. Guilty. That you just have to like think about, would you say that to a little kid? And when you treat yourself like the little kid, and for some of us, we never got that childhood. We never got to be coddled and having that. We saw the anger. And so our brains today goes, well, this is how you handle life. You yell, you scream, you pitch a fit until you get your way, because that's what we saw.
Those are our patterns, and we pick those up. Those become our inner narratives. I will never forget, it was a Christmas. I was running 103 fever. It was a couple days before Christmas, and we had family coming over. And I remember getting in trouble because I didn't help my stepmom. I legit. And nobody ever came to check on me. They just thought I was just laying in bed and like just not helping. Meanwhile, I'm like in here, like with a fever, sweating, and but I do not feel well. Okay, I am sick. But I remember getting in trouble for that. So now when I'm sick, I have this inner thing that I've had to work on that I'm like, oh God, I gotta help. I gotta do. Even if I'm sick, ask Wildman. He knows when I am sick, because I'm cleaning.
Well, when you got out of the hospital last year, that mentality kicked in hard. You
Hard.
had the major guilt about laying around when you physiologically could not move.
Yeah.
You needed to rest and heal.
Yeah.
And yet every inkling in your body was like, I'm a horrible mom. I'm a worthless piece of shit right now. Why am I even alive? I should have died in that hospital. Why am I here?
Event brings up suppressed emotions all over again. So yeah, like I said, guys, I have lived this mental spiral thing. I have gone through it so many times that, yesterday when it started, it was cool to just be self-aware, to just be like, wow, this is, and to talk to myself, like, oh my goodness, my nose. But yeah, to talk to myself like I am a 4-year-old. And I think about Cammie. My Cammie is the one of my 3 children. She's 9, who she had the most parenting in non-gentle form.
Right.
And I could see it. I could see it on her. I can see it how she reacts to herself when she's not doing something. Like, I can see that. I try not to get emotional because I try to forgive myself. I didn't know. I did the best I could with what I had at the time. And I'm doing better now. But the other day, we were really struggling with something with school, and she just got, I'm awful, I'm horrible, I'm terrible. All of these things began. And instead of me fighting back, I just hugged her. I just held her. I can't stop her thoughts for her. I can't do that for her. All I can do is say, come here and hold her. And so I just have to do that with myself. Like, I see you, I hear you, I feel that. I know you've learned that from somewhere. Let me just hold you while you get through that.
And affirmations are big. Sweetie, you're smart, you're articulate, you are creative, and giving her that feedback that then replaces some of those mental brain noodles that she has that makes her want to feel that way about herself. So verbalizing those, and this is something we do ourselves, you and me, when we spiral, and we recommend to you guys, when you kind of get in that, verbalize kind things to yourself. And I know when you're in that mental death spiral, you do not think kind things about yourself. And it's hard. Listen, I'm going to be dead honest. It's hard to talk to Brittany when she's in a little bit of that spiral. But like she said earlier, she used to never want to talk at all. Yesterday we talked because we had some book things to talk about. And that's a hard version of you that I've learned to appreciate, that when you're not in that state. Wow. Thank you for being who you are. When you're in that state, thank you again, but it's harder for me because I'm not trying to fix you, but I'm trying to make you feel better, and I feel like I don't succeed, and so I just kind of feel like crap in the midst of it.
Oh, yeah. Poor Jimmy and Wild Man who have to deal with that side of me. I try to keep that side of me, pretty wrapped up. Not because I'm trying to fake being any way. Like, guys, if I don't feel good, I'm gonna let you know.
It's very rare. I see it once a quarter, if that.
Yeah. And I do. And again, I have gotten to the place, I've done this so many times, all these tips and tricks and things that I'm telling you right now, I've done these myself. I do these myself. I use these myself. Yesterday it would have been so easy for me to just pick up food and eat my feelings. And instead I was just like, nope, I'm just going to feel them. I'm just going to feel these fucking feelings.
Look, I have found myself, especially over the 2 years, there were moments when I was so spiraling that even carbs looked appealing to me. And I'm like, what the hell? Like, I had crappy garbage in years. Yes. And now I'm walking by the Little Debbie snack cakes and going, oh, baby, get in my mouth. Like, it was just, it's so weird because it's like I haven't had that in years. And I gave in once. I think I told you, I called you, I said I had some carbs. And you're like, what you having? I had some Little Debbie snack cakes. And I was wearing a CGM at the time. And I was like, and I saw 190 blood sugar and knew, shit, didn't do that, but I did it. It is what it is. It happened. And so you find coping mechanisms to do that. Guys, I hope today's episode 51, how to get out of that death spiral mentally, has helped you. There's so much more we could have talked about, but stay tuned. We talk about this along the edges of everything we do in our work, both here on the podcast and in our upcoming book. Just a reminder, One Step Deeper Journal of the Foundations is coming very soon. So stay tuned for that. We will have more information. It takes about a month once it goes to the printer to come out. So we'll have a bit of a lull there. Brittany, take us home.
All right, onestepdeeperpodcast.com, you guys. You can find all the episodes, all the past episodes, the new episodes, everything's over there. And then on YouTube, Sundays, 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. That's where you can catch all of them the first time if you're just an OSD fan and you just like, I have to see it first. That's where you see it, 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time over on YouTube. Thank you, guys.
Hi, code. Always, she goes on the chat over there and she says, hi, guys, I missed you. I'm glad you're back. She's always leaving us a comment in the chat.
We love you. We love you. We're so grateful for you. You can find us on Facebook, Instagram, One Step Deeper Podcast. Both of those locations, you can find all the episodes there. We are a typical podcast, of course. You can listen to us on Apple, Stitcher, Spotify, ALEXA. That's probably one of my favorite places when the girls are like, ALEXA, play the latest episode of the One Step Deeper podcast, and the girls and you and I come up and they're just watching. They're like, oh, look, it's Mom and Jimmy. Goodness. Yes. And then lastly, guys, leave us a review. We love hearing from you guys. Any review at this point, just anything. We don't care if you love us, you hate us, let us know. We just want to know.
Yeah. And then come engage with us. We're both very open on social media. She is becoming Brittany Lee. Go check her out over there. Go follow her. If you don't follow her, she has lots more One Step Deeper type of comments and videos and posts. You've been doing a lot more posts lately, so definitely go check her out there, guys. And I'm Living Low Carb Man, and a lot of my work has been low carb diet stuff. I'm shifting over to a lot more mindset. I'm currently doing this ice bath challenge. I'm doing 5 minutes in an ice bath every single day. So kind of come see me act a fool in the afternoons every day, getting into an ice bath, 32-degree ice bath every day. So Wildman thinks that's hilarious, huh?
Not a fan. He's not a fan.
Hey, I bet he couldn't do it.
I don't know. We'll see.
Yes. Well, actually, he's pretty badass and pretty tough. I bet he could do it. He'd say a few choice words while
yes, he would. Yeah. He wouldn't. Yes.
Give me fur while I'm in this thing.
Yeah.
Well, guys, thank you so much for watching this week. We've got a lot more episodes coming up, and of course, that book. We're going to keep talking about the book because the book is going to be magical, guys. You have no idea. This is the most unique book you will ever read in your life, and I'm not just saying that because I'm a co-author. I literally have written, this will be my 10th book. This is the proudest book I've ever written, and I think it will change lives if it gets out there the way that we hope that it does. So until next week, you guys, we'll see you then.
OneStepDeeperPodcast.com.